Today, ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you one of the great Doctor Who debates. Is this an original concept? No. Do I have my own ruddy opinions? Yes, I do. And today, I'm going to share them. Who are the Doctors that would be on Mount... Butchered the ending. Damn it, I was doing so well as well. If you notice, I genuinely... These videos convince me that I have a stutter. They really do. So in this video, we're going to discuss who is the Doctors on Mount Rushmore. Now, you might be asking, what is Mount Rushmore? I've actually just realised I have no idea what Mount Rushmore is. Hey Google, what is Mount Rushmore?
Mount Rushmore National Memorial is a massive sculpture carved into the Black Hills of South Dakota, featuring the 60-foot-high granite faces of 4 US presidents.
Oh, it's the presidents! This video is not sponsored by any virtual assistants because I'm not an arsehole, and who cares? Yeah, no, presidents on a hill, but who would be the Doctor version of that? Let's find out. So the concept of Mount Rushmoring something, which this part I do understand because I'm making the video. You pick the 4 most popular of that thing. So therefore we're doing Doctors. So I'm going, what are the most popular recognisable figures? Now everyone, let's get our candidates. Immediately, if you do not have a number as your name, for example, if you're not the first Doctor, the second Doctor, if you are, off the top of my head, the War Doctor, the Fugitive Doctor, any of David's versions that aren't 10 and 14, you're not making it, because you don't even get, like, a number. Like, come on. So now, to me, it makes sense just to clear up some that just aren't there. I'm not knocking any of the first 4 Doctors out yet. The first one, a very popular one, the first one in colour and a very popular one, and Tom Baker. However, I am gonna knock out 5, 6, and 7. And the main reason I'm knocking out these 3 Doctors is because they're just not the faces of Doctor Who that you recognise. That and, yes, I think out of any of these, I think 5th, maybe 7 might have half a shout of making it, but they're just not quite as popular Doctors as those first 4, and I kind of want to use this Mount Rushmore for me to, like, give us a wide variety of, you know, like, I want some classic, I want some modern, I want to almost, like, display the entire history of Doctor Who, and I don't think 5, 6, or 7 are relevant enough for that. That's why the 8th Doctor is sticking around for now. I know that might be a bit controversial, but he is he is the only representative, really, of the Wilderness eras, because no, I'm not picking the ruddy Schalke Doctor. Now let's analyse modern Who quickly. Now, honestly, with the modern Doctors, it's very, very tough, because each of them almost deserve to be there in their own right. 9 started off the modern series, 10 is David Tennant. He is one of the most popular Doctors ever. How unpopular that statement might be, he is, to the mainstream public, the most popular Doctor. You've got Matt Smith as the 11th Doctor, which brought the show to America and is also an insanely popular Doctor. You've got Peter Capaldi, who's very popular. You've got the first female Doctor in Jodie Whittaker. That's a massive, massive thing. And you've also got Ncuti Gatwa, who's just had an absolutely incredible run. Sorry, 14, I'm just going to knock you out completely. You're a Doctor for some specials. You're not coming on this journey with me. Now, let's face it, I think you know where this video is going. When doing a Mount Rushmore of Doctor Who Doctors, I think there are 2 Doctors that should just be on everyone's list. You know, I don't think this is... Other Doctors, I think you can debate. There are 2 Doctors that if they aren't on your Mount Rushmore, I don't think you've understood the concept of a Mount Rushmore. First of all, the first and most obvious face on the Mount Rushmore, Tom Baker as 4th Doctor. It just had to be there. If you asked most people, especially in a modern context, who they think of when they think of Doctor Who and, like, classic era Doctor Who, they think of Tom Baker. Like, most people, even if they couldn't name a single Doctor actor, they could tell you about the scarf. Tom Baker back then, insanely popular. Tom Baker to this day, insanely popular, beloved by the fans, the longest running Doctor by a long, long stretch. Any Mount Rushmore that doesn't include Tom Baker doesn't get it. And my other pick that is just, for me, so obvious, it's got to be David Tennant's 10th Doctor. Because when you're looking at Mount Rushmore, you've kind of got to consider overall popularity, and that's not just amongst like, the hardcore fans, amongst mainstream people. Mount Rushmore, when you say Doctor Who, David Tennant is the first actor that comes to mind for the modern audience. His run was so popular, they literally considered stopping Doctor Who when they knew David Tennant was going to leave. He was that popular. That one, a couple of people might disagree with, but I personally do not think you can do a Mount Rushmore without 10. So, ladies and gentlemen, for our final 2 slots, we have these Doctors. William Hartnell's 1st Doctor, Patrick Troughton's 2nd Doctor, Jon Pertwee's 3rd Doctor, Paul McGann's 8th Doctor, and then, yeah, most of the modern ones are still there. Can I just let you know, I'm kind of, making my decisions as I go through, like, I feel like this concept would be quite dull if I just scripted it all the way through. See, the early cuts we made sense, but now we do have to make some harsh cuts. Patrick Troughton's 2nd Doctor is very popular, but I don't think he's quite at that iconic status, personally. For a similar reason, Jon Pertwee's 3rd Doctor just can't make it. He's personally, for me, one of my favourite Doctors. He would, if this was just purely my personal 4 favourite Doctors, Jon Pertwee makes it, but I understand he just doesn't have that level of, popularity amongst fans and knowledge about general audiences. I don't know why I kept Paul McGann's 8th Doctor around. Who cares about the wilderness years? Sorry, Paul, you're gone. I think 9's out of this debate just because of his lack of overall screen time. Plus, here's where we do piss off some people. Peter Capaldi's 12th Doctor, unfortunately, will not be making my Mount Rushmore. I'm making this sound way more important than it is. Look, I get it, amongst hardcore fans, he is a very popular Doctor, but the viewing figures did start to decline at this point, and yeah, he's just not iconic enough for me, and I think because I think my opinion does have to matter a little bit in my Mount Rushmore. Also, this is the point where I'm going to knock Shooty out of contention, because it would be pure recency bias to have him in. So for the final 2 slots, that leaves us with William Hartnell's 1st Doctor, it leaves us with Matt Smith's 11th Doctor and Jodie Whittaker's 13th Doctor. Now, I think this is the toughest decision of the video, is which out of those 3 Doctors miss out. William Hartnell is thoroughly iconic in the role and is literally the first ever Doctor. You've got Matt Smith, who is an insanely popular Doctor and brought the show a lot of viewership in America. And you've got Jodie Whittaker, who is a trailblazer as the first female Doctor, and is just genuinely such an iconic, and is very synonymous with the show now. I think for me, if you want like a 3rd place, and you want like a battle between the final 2, Jodie Whittaker's in there for me. I think as the first female Doctor, and just generally being just so iconic within the role and synonymous, and like, the change in the show, it's just, as part of the show's history, Jodie Whittaker's casting and Jodie Whittaker's involvement in the show, she has to make the Mount Rushmore for me. And between these 2, again, the toughest decision in this video. I don't know which way I'm going to go. I actually don't. I think for me and what I personally enjoy, I love the Matt Smith era probably more than I do the William Hartnell era, let's be honest. But as the first ever Doctor, as a trailblazer for the show, the man who, without his performance we might not have this show that we all love, I'm giving it to William Hartnell. So, as follows, because, you should do these things in date order. We have William Hartnell's 1st Doctor, Tom Baker's 4th Doctor, David Tennant's 10th Doctor, and Jodie Whittaker's 13th Doctor. That, to me, there's a couple of arguable ones in there. I think Matt Smith is probably the one knocking on the door the most. Let me know how right, how wrong you think I got this. Like, subscribe, let me know. Yeah. No, that's the end of the video. You can go now. No, watch another one of my videos. Do that. Don't leave. No, but leave. But to go and watch another one of my videos.